We want to bring you some breaking news right now. Look at your TV screen. That is a small plane on I-4 at Maitland. And if you know that area, boy, what a mess this is causing right now. But that's a small, it appears to be some sort of Cessna on the interstate right now. We are not sure how this thing ended up here, where it came from, where it was going. But it is real. You can see that firefighters are on scene right now. They have that fend off position with that fire truck, so traffic cannot approach where that plane is. And you can see they've already stopped traffic from going up in that area. But once again, we can get Sky 6 to focus on the plane that's actually, it looks like it's off to the side a little bit, like there's an exit ramp.
Yeah, it looks like this is an off-ramp off the main highway there from I-4, and it looks like traffic is slowing down on I-4 itself, like it usually is. People are looking at the oddity of a plane where it's really not supposed to be, but it looks like they shut down the off-ramp there at Maitland, and then people who are on I-4 are just going slowly as the looky-loos kind of take a look at this.
Yeah, in both directions, by the way. And you have to imagine that that pilot had to make some tough choices as to where to set this thing down. And likely, I-4 was where the best spot for him, and it looks like it wasn't right where traffic is, as Matt just mentioned. It looks like it's an off-ramp right there, but you see there's a retention pond right next to it, and also there's some green space, but this could have been a whole lot worse. We're not sure what shape the pilot is in. The good news is we don't see any flames or anything, so it appears that he set it down there and it didn't crash.
Yeah, if you think he's coming in from what looks like this area right here, and as we're zooming in, he had to stop very quickly as he got over I-4, and then it doesn't look like he had a whole lot of time to stop before he got to that road. So it's kind of a crazy situation.
And we're not sure if he's actually stopped right there on, it looks like the shoulder, or if the plane was in the road and they've already moved it back a little bit, but you can see some traffic still getting by. I'm not sure, quite sure how that's happening, because in the distance there is that fire truck doing that fend-off position, so no one can get in that area, and maybe these are safety cars, but you can see that there are a lot of law enforcement there trying to make this area safe for people who are trying to get by, but we can't tell if the pilot is still in there or not, if he's gotten out. But what a strange sight to see on any afternoon.
When you see it, though, I mean, he really had to thread the needle. I see one car that's pulled over that doesn't look damaged. From what we can see, the plane is upright. And we can see the letters on it there, which are
can you see from that shot? I can't tell if it's on its belly or if the wheels are down.
It does look like it's on its belly, yeah. So the wheels are down. It's right side up, and it looks like he managed to somehow land it and keep it off the road. And from what we've seen from the scene around it, it doesn't look like any cars were impacted.
Yeah, and we're not sure where it's coming from, but our producer Thomas is just telling me in my ear that the plane's owner is from Alabama. So not sure who's the pilot of this thing right now, but I guess you can tell by the tail number. We've looked it up to find out where the owner of the plane actually is from. But that is such a strange sight to see. But the good news here is this could have been a whole lot worse. It could have landed right in the middle of traffic on some cars.
It's 5:30 right now. There's no bigger time for traffic. It does look like the car on the left is damaged, I'm being told. So when that plane came down, it may have clipped that black car with the door open.
But if you know this area on I-4 in Maitland, Matt, you know all the construction going on in this area, and it's very confusing as well. So cars are still trying to figure out the new exits and the on and the offs of getting onto I-4 from Maitland. And to see this plane there or coming down, I can't imagine being in traffic and seeing this thing possibly coming down at you and trying to get out of the way as best you can.
So what we're learning is this is a Piper fixed-wing, single-engine plane. It was made in 1965. Looks like there's only enough room for 2 people in there, maybe a max of 4. And can we zoom out a little bit, Sky 6, if you can hear me, just to kind of get a better look at the scene? Well, they're zooming in, but you can see that this is just a really complicated area. Pretty much the last place you'd want to try to land a plane. This isn't like a rural road where you've got plenty of room and no cars. This is ramps, on-ramps and off-ramps coming every which way. And it looks like he managed to bring this plane down, possibly clipped that black car there, but I can't see any other cars involved. I-4 again, I-4 at Maitland. Slow right now, but it's okay because this is it looks like an off-ramp that shoots out of it, which is closed right now.
Yeah,
And
we've
at
also learned
540,
that
that's a real
the
complication.
name of the owner of the plane is Lloyd McKinney, and I think we said the plane was out of Alabama earlier. So we're trying to make sense of how this all happened, and not sure, I would imagine that the pilot has gotten out of that thing, or if there was a passenger in there that they have gotten out, because you just never know. And you can see Sky 6 is zooming out so we can get a better scope of how traffic is starting to stack up on I-4 at Maitland. And you can imagine it's almost 6 o'clock, and this is at the height of rush hour right now. So a lot of people probably trying to just make their way home, and lo and behold, you look over and you see this plane on the side of the road. And you have to imagine that there are a lot of people slowing down, not just because the traffic is thick, but just to see what is happening there on the side of I-4 at Maitland.
Yeah, the good news is you can see I-4, I believe looking at this, that would be westbound. It looks like it's pretty clear, but I-4 eastbound there, I think is the one that is really stopped up right now and slow from the people trying to get a look at that plane on the off-ramp there. So there's a lot to this story. We just don't know at the moment what went wrong, why this plane had to come down all of the sudden, but we do know it is just one of those little single-engine Pipers. He obviously was in a hurry to get this down, and it does look like one car may have been involved in this, but rescue crews are on the scene. They'll be investigating, and they'll be pulling this thing out in the next few hours.
Yeah, you hope so. And, you know, it's got to stay there until, like, the National Transportation Safety Board gets out and just makes sense of what actually happened, interviews everyone who's on scene. So we hope the person, if someone in that car that got clipped, we hope everyone is okay, and we hope the pilot's okay. But they don't seem to be in too much of a rush to do anything, if you notice by what we've been seeing so far. But just a strange thing to see, and, you know, thank goodness this is probably one of the best possible endings, with it on the side of the road and not in the middle of the road where more damage could have definitely been done.
Yeah, wild situation. So if you're just tuning in or you're just hearing about this on social media, this is I-4 at Maitland Boulevard, and you can see a plane landed in a hurry as it looks like it found a little piece of dirt in construction area here. You can see the little construction barriers right there off to the side. It looks like it knocked over one or two of those, managed to stop the plane just about halfway, got the nose into that off-ramp and may have clipped that black car right there with the door open.
Yeah, and you never know. The pilot may have made that move as a strategic move to, you know, knowing that the grass and the dirt would slow him down as opposed to landing on the concrete of I-4. So it'd be interesting to talk to him and see how this all played out, and, you know, where this plane was coming from and where it was planning on going.
Yeah, so we'll keep you up to date on this. We're going to try to find that pilot, talk to him. Hopefully he's doing okay, and maybe the driver of that car. I'm sure it was one crazy scene, and hopefully we can figure out why he had to land so abruptly.
Yeah, you look at the guy who's walking around the plane. He's either the pilot or the person who was in that black car, because he's on a phone, and you can tell, you know how you're on a phone and you're just trying to get some information, or you're calling someone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to
Honey,
make some.
I'm going to need you to pick me up.
I'm going to be late to dinner.
Yeah.
So this is probably the best possible ending, not knowing that if anyone's hurt or not, but it doesn't appear that we have any injuries. But you see that fire truck. I see how the cars are getting by now, but they performed that maneuver so they protect their workers who are on the road. It's called the fend-off maneuver, but some cars are still slowly eking by on the right-hand side.
Yeah, it looks like there are a few areas that feed into this on-ramp and off-ramp area. So one of those areas is not blocked off. They're still getting through. So we're going to keep tabs on this at clickorlando.com. We get details like lightning fast to you. We'll also keep you up to date on this until 6:30 when the evening news starts.
And I guarantee you have a crew on the ground heading there as quickly as possible right now, but with traffic in the area, it's going to be slow going. Yeah, Sky 6 is probably the fastest way that we can get anywhere right now in this area.
So if you are having to head out, and this is a very busy area, many folks watching right now might need to pass this tonight if you're heading to dinner. Okay, this is the area of concern. That's I-4. It is getting backed up. And then that little, okay, we can get a good idea of what that feeds into, that little off-ramp there, that little offshoot. And then I-4 is really complicated. Those people, see, the problem is a lot of people get off at that exit. So as they're trying to get off, they see it's blocked off, and people don't just keep driving they hit the brakes, and then they're trying to
course.
figure out where they're going to go.
Exactly.
And then it just causes this. I mean, at 5:45, the traffic's nightmarish out there anyway.
Now is a good time if you know someone who usually would be leaving work or somewhere, the gym, to go somewhere else. If they're not watching their TV and you are, now is be a good friend and text them. Let them know what is happening in this area so they want to avoid it completely or just delay their leave time, because this is going to be out there for some time, because an investigation has to happen before they tow that plane away.
Yeah, yeah. You'll have to take the one of the offshoot roads, one of the side roads to get around this thing. Again, we'll keep you up to date right here on News 6, clickorlando.com.
All right. Are we going to stay with this, or are we going to... Do you want to stay with it? Okay.
Okay. We're staying with the plane. All right. Good to know. So we can take a look here at this scene. You can see, as Ginger's been saying, that big fire truck. They have had some issues in the past of people who were driving too fast and not paying attention. So now they take that fire truck when they have a big scene like this, and they pull it up there as a protective measure for the crews on the scene. You can see it is quite the expansive scene. Some weird stuff going on. It looks like they're bringing this
tow
might be the
truck?
wrecker. They're coming in either for the car or the plane. And
Yeah,
so
he's
you
going
can
to
see
stop
him.
and back up.
He's backing into place. They realize that this is a very busy area and they need to clear this scene soon. Which, if they start clearing that plane, that's a good sign, because if someone were hurt badly,
Yes,
we know that God forbid someone died in this. Now we can see the back of that car.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's the first time I've been able to see that. This is a really good shot of the back of that nice black car that got clipped by the airplane, it appears.
That
that's a
is
really
a
good
lot of damage.
Okay, yeah. At first it was hard to see, but
Somebody got rattled in there.
yeah, they did.
And that guy's trying to open the trunk. That's the guy who was on the phone earlier, I think. It's like he's trying to open the trunk, and, it's all bashed in, so he can't get to it. There was that other guy in the jean shorts there. He was on the side of the road, and he's got to be involved in this some way. And he looks like he might have been the pilot, because he's touching the plane. He doesn't look like an investigator. I'm just going by what I see.
Yeah.
But it appears that he might have been in the plane, and I just don't feel like other people would just come up and start touching a plane on the side of the road, nor would authorities let them. So this guy had to be involved somehow, possibly the pilot, we're not sure, and the guy pointing may have been the guy who was in the vehicle.
It's interesting to try to figure out the scene here. I'm trying to figure out, just looking at this from the sky, how the plane came down. This may have, if it hit that car, it could have spun around. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, like I was at first, that it came from that dirt, grassy area, it very well could have, where it's pointing now is probably not where it was pointing when it came down from the sky. As that thing came down, maybe he landed on the road and clipped that plane, and it could have flipped it around like a few times even, and pointed that different direction. So as we're trying to figure this out from the sky.
We're just hearing from our producer that Maitland Fire is telling us that the plane landed on the car. Is that right, Thomas? No injuries? Thank goodness.
Wow.
It landed on the car.
On top of the car. Well,
and you can see by that damage, something happened to that car. And
maybe a tire came onto that car, or a wing as it came down.
But to have no injuries, that is incredible. And thank goodness that there are no injuries, which is why you probably see that wrecker coming in to move this thing out of the area. You know what I would like to see? We have FDOT cameras everywhere now, or surveillance cameras, or someone with a dash cam. There has got to be someone out there who saw this happen on the road, and maybe they have some video. I would love if they would send that in, or just post it onto social media, but you can send it to clickorlando.com. We'd really love that, because you have to know that this had to be such a weird and bizarre sight to see as you're driving down the road. Because when you're near an airport, which that is not, and you see planes flying low, you think nothing of it. But in an area where there is obviously no airport, and you see a plane coming that low, you start to panic, and you're wondering what's going on. So you have to imagine that the people who were driving in this area at that time, when that car came down on that plane, it was probably a very frightening scene for them.
Yeah, it seems like an obvious emergency landing situation. This pilot felt like he had to get that plane down quickly. And so we are actually probably seeing what he saw a few moments before he was bringing this thing down. And as you're coming down, you're looking at busy I-4, both directions. You can't land there.
And
He was
look at
probably going to try to avoid the grass and the dirt.
It looks like there are some cars parked up that grassy hill who may have just parked there to see what is going on, which is really not a good idea because,
Unwise.
yeah, now you're getting other people to slow down and stop behind you. But I can't say that I blame them for wanting to know exactly what happened here because we're still trying to figure it out. But according to Maitland Fire, the plane landed on that
On
black
top
car
of the
you
car.
see there. That's what we're told.
What are
And
the odds of that? Well, I guess the odds are pretty good at 5:30 on a Thursday
on
near
I-4.
I-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see all the people just slowing down. Half of them are looky-loos. The other half are people who were going to get off at that exit and just saw that it was blocked off, and then they just, you know how it goes.
Well, I really
There,
believe those
just-
people, they're committed to the exit now, so they can't, they probably should not be going down that side where that fire truck is. They probably tried to close it off, but those people at the last minute realized they shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So they just have to get by one lane at a time.
Just a complicated situation. The good news is we're hearing no injuries
Oh, my goodness.
miraculously. You can't usually say that if a plane lands on top of a car. Looks like that flatbed has been brought in to at least start hauling off maybe the plane, maybe the car, but get some of that stuff out of the way because these emergency crews, I am sure, would like to unclog traffic as quickly as they possibly could without impeding some sort of investigation. As Ginger said, if the FAA has to get involved,
Yeah.
they might be waiting quite a while before that opens back up.
Yeah, it'll be some time, but it would be even longer had there been a death or something
Yes.
like that involved. So the investigation has to happen, and we have to figure out if there was some sort of engine failure, if there was a fuel issue, because sometimes we hear that these guys just run out of fuel. They just misjudge how far they have to go. You just don't know.
Yeah,
So many things.
engine problems,
So many
anything
things
can
could
happen.
possibly happen. It just makes me nervous when I see people running on the side of the road.
And you can see them moving that fire truck right now. We have Trooper Steve on the phone. We happen to have a great resource at the station for situations like this. Hey, Steve, I know you're watching this at home. You've seen some of the videos. Sounds like this plane came down on the off-ramp there, landed on top of a car. What do you make of this situation right now?
What I'm looking at first, hey guys, I'm looking at, it looks like it's eastbound Maitland to westbound I-4. So it looks like a bad situation, but it's not affecting the main line, which is a good thing. I think we've seen this twice since I've been with us here at News 6. The first week I got hired, we actually had one land on the main line. And this is going to be Maitland PD's jurisdiction, so FHP will not get involved in this. And based off of what we're looking at the scene, it appears, I know it looks like a really bad crash, but if this was a serious scene or something where major injuries were involved, this would be a complete shutdown. So the fact that they were allowing some traffic to get by, there's a tow truck already on scene, I think we can go ahead and hope for the best with this type of crash right now.
Yeah, we heard that no one was actually injured, and just within the past couple of seconds here, the fire truck that was doing that fend-off position has actually left the scene.
Yeah, and it looks like this could have been a lot worse. I'm sure we'll find out more here once the pilot is able to give his information to Maitland PD, but we're talking already rush hour, construction, and a plane like this, you're talking a mass response initially because you don't know how much fuel's on board, if it's leaking or anything like that. And then adding the construction zone, this could have been a lot worse.
Steve, the other thing we were talking about was if the FAA needs to get involved and investigate this. Have you ever dealt with a situation where a plane ends up on a road? Does that slow things down? Can they move that plane right away? We can see that the wrecker's been called in, but I was curious about the timing of things for people who are trying to get home.
Usually it's a nice phone call. And most police departments have the contact for this type of stuff.
Back, it looks like, of that black car that you can see pulled over. We're told Incredibly, there are no injuries in this case.
Yeah, we're talking about a single-engine fixed-wing plane. It landed roadside near the I-4 and Maitland Boulevard junction, which is what you're looking at right there. The eastbound off-ramp from Maitland Boulevard to westbound I-4, we're told, is closed while emergency crews respond. And traffic is starting to move and ease up in that area. Now, according to the tail number and FAA records, the plane is a Piper and manufactured in 1965, and it's registered to an owner out of Alabama.
Yeah, so Maitland Fire is saying this small plane did make the emergency landing onto I-4, and they're saying in the westbound lanes from Maitland Boulevard. They say it happened at 5:30. Sky 6 got there maybe 10 minutes after it happened. And you can, Steve, as you're looking at this from the air, you can see the crews. That just doesn't seem to be any sort of emergency situation. Now it looks like more of a logistical problem, right?
I can guarantee on every one of their minds right now is how fast can we clear this up, just because it is almost 6 o'clock and it's I-4. And you're right, there's no sense of urgency out here. It appears everyone's good to go. There almost appears to be another vehicle down the road a little further on the left shoulder that might possibly also be involved in it. But we're looking at what could have been a really bad situation, and, the best came out of it.
Yeah, and Steve, you were talking about this is the second or third time this has happened since you've been here. The last time we can remember is another plane landed on the highway in Seminole County, and this happened back in November of 2017. So not that long ago. And you feel like you would go years and years without something like this happening.
You do.
But here we are with another similar situation, and hopefully
I would think I was
the
3
best
weeks
outcome.
gone at the time here, and it was the same thing with you and I talking, and I was here doing another phoner with you right here talking about that thing.
It's like deja vu.
All right. Well, Steve, we'll see you in another couple of years, it sounds like, as these planes tend to time it out that way. And hopefully it doesn't happen for a much longer time. But we are glad to report this I-4 Maitland Boulevard. No one is injured, but a complicated situation as crews work to clear this off the road now, figure out what happened, and get people back home where they should be.
Yeah, that is the best possible ending, but it'll be interesting to hear what the pilot and what the guy who was in that car have to say about how this situation unfolded.